Welcome back, everyone. Today, we have got a seriously fascinating explainer mapped out for you. We're going to trace one independent researcher's totally unconventional path. I mean, this is a journey that starts way out in the abstract realms of deep philosophy and consciousness and somehow arrives at the pursuit of peak physiological vitality and raw physical strength. We are going to be looking directly at the personal framework of Satya Prakash Dubey. As you'll see, his unique synthesis of yogic knowledge and modern neuroscience attempts to answer some of the most profound questions we can ask about the human body. So get ready, because this is a highly structured, step-by-step look at literally unlocking human potential. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to think about this profound question. What remains when thought becomes still? It's a heavy one, right? Because for most of us, our internal monologue is just this constant, never-ending stream. We're always asking questions like, who am I? Or what is awareness? But according to Dubey's research and his own personal experience, these endless questions actually arise from an incomplete understanding of reality. He proposes that we don't need to try and forcefully stop our thoughts. It's more like when underlying reality is genuinely understood, thought just naturally quiets down all on its own.
Section 1. A Fundamental Realization, the 2011 Turning Point.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. To understand how he arrived at these conclusions, we have to rewind to a very specific moment in 2011, when literally everything changed for him. He experiences massive, fundamental shift in his understanding of consciousness and the nature of the self. Now, this wasn't something he discovered sitting in a conventional university classroom. It was born entirely from his own direct personal inquiry. Instead of getting caught in endless intellectual discussion, always searching for answers, debating philosophy, or just chasing temporary states of calm, Dubey shifted completely to direct realization. He stopped searching for new answers. And what followed was this gradual dissolution of all his previous conditioning, all his assumptions and mental patterns. And what was left in their place? A natural state of wonder, deep presence, and completely effortless awareness.
Moving on to Section 2. Bridging Mind and Body, the Pivot.
Now, here is where the story takes a super fascinating turn. You see, a lot of people who experience a deep psychological or spiritual awakening, they just stop right there. They spend the rest of their lives focused entirely on the mind. Dubey, however, made this massive pivot to bridge the gap between that mental clarity and the physical form we all inhabit. His work only started with consciousness. He asked this pivotal core question that completely changed the trajectory of his independent research. He asked, if the human being can recognize awareness, can the intelligence of the living brain-body system also be consciously regulated? I mean, that is a massive what-if. He began to wonder if that same acute awareness that quieted his mind could actually be directed downward, directly into the physical biology of the body itself. Could we consciously control the intelligence of her own biological systems?
Section 3. Neuron Regulation Technique, defining the method. That central question, it demanded an answer, and it led directly to the core of what we are analyzing today. Dubey didn't just sit around theorizing about biological regulation. He set out to build a highly specific, actionable system to actually achieve it. He named the system the Neuron Regulation Technique, or NRT. This is a special yogic method concerned with the conscious regulation of the neural and physiological processes of the living body. And I want to be super clear here based on his writings, this is absolutely not just another standard meditation app or some vague philosophical theory. The name itself intentionally reflects a bridge between ancient yogic knowledge and modern neuroscience, specifically targeting the neural regulation within the brain-body system. And he hasn't taken this lightly at all. 11. That represents the approximately 11 years that Dubey has spent personally developing, practicing, and systematically investigating this technique on himself. Think about that. Over a decade of sustained, daily personal experience just to refine this method. He essentially became his own primary research subject, rigorously testing exactly how deep this conscious regulation could actually go. Section 4. The Path to Vitality, regulating the living system.
So what is the ultimate goal of all this intense personal research? Where does this technique actually lead? Well, this is where that abstract awareness translates into peak physical vitality. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scope of the physical benefits he is targeting. By tapping into the body's own regulatory intelligence, Dubey aims to support enhanced longevity, unlock maximum sustainable physical strength, and maintain just incredible vitality and energy. But it also gets highly functional. We're talking improving the efficient utilization of nourishment, optimizing digestion, maintaining bodily function as we age, and seriously accelerating recovery and resilience.
Just imagine the implications if a human being can actually direct their awareness to optimize these specific biological functions. To understand how he believes this is even possible, we have to look at a major paradigm shift in how we view the body. Normally, we think of things like digestion, cellular recovery, and neuroregulation purely as automatic processes, right? Things that just run entirely on their own in the background. But Dubey hypothesizes that we can shift these to consciously trained mechanisms. He's investigating the very real possibility that our regulatory mechanisms don't have to be completely automatic. Instead, they can be actively trained to maintain maximum physical strength and vitality throughout our entire lives.
Section 5. Experience over belief, the method of proof. Now, you might be wondering, okay, this sounds incredible, but how do you actually prove it? Dubey is actually very strict about this. He holds a firm stance against blind belief, and his entire framework relies on a highly specific method of proof based on direct personal demonstration. So the crucial point is how a practitioner actually approaches NRT. It happens in two distinct steps. First, you must be able to observe and experience the phenomenon directly. You have to personally verify that yes, there is an intrinsic regulatory intelligence within your living brain-body system. And only after you have directly experienced that intelligence can you move to step 2, figuring out how to consciously regulate it. Direct demonstration and personal learning always have to come before belief.
Which brings us to Section 6, Building Spiritual Gyms, the Future Vision. Because this requires such intense personal verification, it brings up a really tough logistical challenge. How do you actually share this with others so they can systematically learn it? Well, his solution is this concept of spiritual gyms. He envisions establishing dedicated centers where selected, serious individuals can receive intensive training in the neuron regulation technique. Dubey is adamant that this work cannot be approached simply as a casual intellectual course you read about over a weekend. No way. It requires direct participation, sustained practice, serious discipline, and a real commitment of time and resources. These spiritual gyms would be practical environments for actual demonstration and direct learning.
So, everything we've covered today perfectly converges into two interconnected dimensions that frame his overarching research direction. First, we have consciousness and awareness, really understanding the self and the natural quietness of thought. Second, we have neuron regulation and the living body, taking that awareness and applying it to physically regulate our physiology for maximum vitality and strength. His work sits right at the intersection of these two dimensions, bridging pure awareness with sustainable physical health.
Which brings us to a final question that I want to leave echoing in your mind today. What is a human being truly capable of directly experiencing, learning, and regulating? Satya Dubey's 11-year journey suggests that we might have barely even scratched the surface of our own internal potential. If awareness can be recognized, and if the body's intelligence can be consciously directed, what untapped regulatory power is sitting dormant inside your own brain-body system right now? It is a fascinating concept to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking great questions, and I'll see you in the next one.